Hello and welcome everyone to today's virtual meetup on UiPath AI Fabric. Thank you for taking time out and being with us today. I'm Vibhor Srivastava, leading community initiatives in APAC region. In last 2 months, many of you have been requesting a session on AI Fabric. And as you know, in community, we always try to cover the topic of your need and choice ASAP. So here we go with AI Fabric. Our today's speaker is Jeremy, Product Manager Machine Learning, and he will talk and share how you can apply AI to your RPA workflows in minutes and what are the key features of AI Fabric. We also have Gwen Chen, who is Product Marketing Manager, AI, and will also help addressing a lot of your question. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. We will have Q&A at the end of this session where you can unmute and ask any queries you may have. We love session full of questions. And it's also great opportunity for all of you to interact with product leads, and our speakers are really excited to hear from you. However, if you have any question during this session, please feel free to post on chat window. And if you miss anything, don't worry, we will be sharing the recording. So without much ado, I invite Jeremy. Jeremy, stage is all yours. Hello. Hello, Jeremy.
Okay, I was on mute. Sorry. Thank you for the introduction, Vibhor. Thank you, everyone. And hello, everyone. It's very nice to have you here, to see so many people interested in AI Fabric. I'm always amazed by our community. So my name is Jeremy Tederi, and today I will talk you through AI Fabric. I will start by showing some slides, and I will show you a demo. And after that, we'll have like Q&A session. Very looking forward to have your question, your feedback on AI Fabric. So feel free to engage. So first of all, I like to start this presentation by giving you a bit of context, and especially like why at UiPath we are doing AI. We are an automation company. Our goal is to automate processes. And today we're going into AI space. And it's not just because it's a buzzword, like everybody wants to do AI. We actually want to apply AI very effectively and go in production with AI. And the reason why we want to do that is because RPA is great. It's a very good tool, but it also has some limitations. And some of the limitation is in the use cases that you can treat with like what I would call classic RPA. So I guess all of you have some experience in RPA, so you all know these problems. Sometimes you're just in some use case where you cannot automate with classic RPA and you need some AI because AI came into the game to solve this kind of issue. So what are the kind of issues that you can have? Basically, there are a group here, the three main topics. It's when you have some uncertainty, like you cannot decide the outcome with 100% certainty. Like you can think about like a property valuation. Two properties can be very, very similar, but because you don't know why, maybe one people will like one property more than the other one, the price won't be exactly the same. So you have some uncertainty. For loan default, you can have two people with exact same background, and at the end, one of the guy will default and not the other one. And same with inventory forecast. So you have some uncertainty, so you cannot decide the output exactly. So you cannot solve this issue with classic RPA. What you will do is you will try to have an estimation, and to get this estimation, you will call a machine learning algorithm. Also, I would like to precise that when we talk about AI in UiPath context, all the time, or at least 99% of the time, we are referring to machine learning. This is, I know it's not exactly the same thing, like AI is a subset of machine learning, but for us it would be kind of the same. Another situation is when you have like highly variable work. So you can, in theory, do the work with some if, then, and just putting a lot of them together. But you have so many rules that it will take forever to explain all of them, and it will be very long to apply your algorithm at the end. So basically what you want to do is to give a computer what was like historical data, give the input, the output, and let him learn how to solve the issue basically. So this is the kind of issues that you can find with like resume matching, purchase decision, even language translation to some extent. And the last one, but which is a big area for us, is unstructured data. And I will also add like semi-structured data, as you used to manipulate a lot of like documents, maybe invoices, purchase order, whatever is in emails, or like free text, video. We'll talk a bit more about this use case, which is like email routing. But basically, if you want to classify an email, it's very hard to explain how you do that, how you understand classify an email just based on the text. You know how to do it. You know you will do it well, but it's very hard to explain to a computer. So it's why you need machine learning to do this kind of thing. Okay. So now we've explained why we do AI, and as I said first, our goal is to be in automation context. So I want to show you where is AI Fabric in UiPath platform. So this is one piece of the hyper automation platform that we're building at UiPath. So you know many of them already. Maybe some of you will know even better than me some of our product. But AI Fabric will be basically based here in the manage, and it will be the way for you to manage all your machine learning skills. We will see that in a moment. So, and to make them accessible to your robot very easily, and to apply RPA in production with machine learning very easily. So again, AI Fabric is not coming alone, it's a piece of the hyper automation platform that we're building. This looks a bit complicated first, but it is not that much complicated, and it's just to show you how AI Fabric is interacting with other pieces from UiPath environment. So what you have on the right side here is AI Fabric. AI Fabric, we have like three main concepts here. We have ML skills. An ML skill is just deployed machine learning model that is accessible to your robot. So you can call these machine learning models to apply it to your automation processes. ML packages is before it becomes an ML skill, is you first have a packages. So it's basically the code and the trained models that you have in your environment, but it's not yet accessible. You can see the analogy between ML packages and ML skills, a bit like packages and processes in automation context. And of course, when you have your model, you serve them, but sometimes you will need to retrain them or to train them. So we have a concept which is a pipeline, and it's where you're going to train your models. So all of this stuff will happen on AI Fabric side. And the way that we communicate with the rest of the platform is because when we deploy a robot, then you can have ML skills, and these ML skills will be called by your robots. So attended robots and attended robots will call ML skills, and we'll get some prediction, some classification, and based on that, you will be able to automate your process, basically. So for an RPA developer, it's just a new activity that would come into the studio, allowing them to call the machine learning models that are deployed on your AI Fabric. This is not the only way we interact, because whenever you're applying machine learning into your process, you're also getting some data and some feedback data, because you're applying that to real data and you want to get the maximum out of this data. So if at some point you're not sure, or if a human is like interacting with your process and correcting or labeling some data, you can of course send back this data to AI Fabric. And this will most likely be done through Action Center, which allows you to interact very easily with the processes, basically. So a business user will interact with Action Center. From a data scientist point of view, it will be like a new label data. So you will send back this data to AI Fabric. And because you send back this data, then the models that are already on AI Fabric will be able to retrain on this new data, and you will be able to serve again. We'll show you that better on this diagram. So this is what AI Fabric is made for. Basically, a normal process for AI Fabric, it's you will start with a model. It can be a model coming from different sources. We'll talk about this a bit later, but basically it can be your own models that you train on your machine or on your infrastructure. It can be on models that one of partner is building for you, or maybe we'll saw that later, but we have the ambition to build a marketplace for machine learning models. So it can be a model from this marketplace, or it can be a models provided by UiPath. If you heard about document understandings, then it's exactly what it is. We build model for you, and you will use a fabric to deploy them and interact with them. And the last source is some open source packages that would come with a fabric. So I will show you that later also. But basically, when you get a fabric, you also get some starter models that you can use as day one and just deploy them on a fabric. So you select a model to solve your business case. You will maybe consume the model first or train the model first, depending on your use case. On RPA side, you will just have a new activity, which is really like drag and drop. I know you're used to that. You drag and drop this activity because it's on a fabric. You will know which model are available to you, and you can apply that to your business use case. So it will take a decision based on this machine learning model. And if at some point you want to validate it, the confidence is not high enough, or there is an issue, humans can interact with the processes as usual, thanks to Action Center, or just form. And because humans are interacting, it's very important for us to get the feedback and to put the feedback into a fabric so you can improve your model by retraining your model. And this will complete the feedback loops of your machine learning process, basically, which is exactly what you want when you're a data scientist. You will build the first model, but then you want to make sure that your model keep working in production. And you want to make sure that you can improve your model by getting new data and new accurate data with what is happening today and not maybe 2 years ago. So I was talking about some starter models, and here is a full list of the models that we already provide on a fabric. As you can see, some of them have stars. Stars mean coming soon, so they will come very soon. I was talking about UiPath document understanding. You might be already familiar with them, but you know about invoice model or receipt model to extract data from this kind of documents. We also have like a generic semi-structure model, which is also available on a fabric. And this one will basically allows you to train on any kind of semi-structured document. So you have a specific kind of document that you want to train a model on, but you not necessarily have like a lot of resources in machine learning, but you still want to do it. You would use this generic semi-structure extraction. You just need to label the data, and then we'll train a new model, and it will be available very easily for your process automation. We have some open source model on language analysis, on language comprehension, and also like tabular data classification or image moderation. We can talk more about them later if you want. Also, later I will ask if there is any models that you would like to see available as a starter model, because for us we really plan to add a lot of them, but it's good to have your thinking about this and what will be really useful for you, and not just build model because it's cool. So let's go to the demo, and I will start the demo by just showing you a real use case that we already worked on, and then I will show you how to interact with a fabric and the different pieces of a fabric, and basically it will be kind of a very short training on a fabric. So first, the use case is about email routing, as I said earlier. So this was in a huge bank. They had one generic email address where they get all the complaints from the customer, but different team needs to treat different complaints. So basically there are, I think, 60 people, around 60 people full-time working on just like reading the email and forward it to the right team. So the right team can just answer the email. So as you can imagine, is not a very exciting job. It's very painful, and you don't want to pay people just to do that. You want them to do some stuff that they can like and they will be very good at. This can be fully automated. This can be fully automated, but again, you need machine learning because it's very hard to classify an email with just some if and then rules. So the use case here, we're going to first get the emails. And then when we have the image, we'll take the body of the image, so basically the text. We will analyze the text based on the machine learning model. And here, this machine learning model is going to send us a confidence score. If the confidence score is high enough, so you can decide the confidence threshold, then we just move it to the classified folder, or you can imagine that we can just forward it to the right team. If the confidence is not high enough, then we'll ask a human to do this task. So again, we'll have some human doing it, but instead of having like 100% of the image going through human, it will maybe be like 10% or maybe even 40% at the beginning, but because we retrain the model again and again, it will become better and better, and at the end, maybe it will be only 10% of the image going through people. So once it goes to a person, as I said, it's very important for us to get this data on AI Fabric so you can retrain your model. So of course, two things will happen. The first thing is we are going to move to the classified folder, the image. And the second thing is we are going to store the data on AI Fabric so the model can be retrained later. Okay, with that, let's jump on UiPath Studio. Let me just find it here. Okay, and as you can imagine, it's very similar. Just because it is a demo only and I don't want to send email to people, there is a bit like a little trick here. Emails actually are not coming from an inbox and they are not sent to another inbox. Instead, we're just using local files. But you know RPA, you know it's very easy to just fetch some emails and send another email. So it is not really the purpose of the demo. But if you look here, you will see the emails that will analyze, and I can open one of them. It's really just text, anonymized text. And we will classify them into this file, which is just an Excel sheet where, oh, sorry, it's on the wrong screen. We'll just what's the email, like email name, body, the class, and the confidence score. And if I just look into new data, for now you have nothing, but you'll see that we'll store some of them. So with that, I will start it, and then I will explain a little bit what is inside this classified email box. So now I'm starting the workflow in debugging mode. You may be used to that. So what's going to happen is we're going to fetch all the files and then send them to a Fabric to be classified, basically. Okay. So now it's initializing. The email is fetched now and then sent to a Fabric, and you can see that you can see the prediction here with the prediction and confidence score. We'll come back to that. It's going to the next email because the confidence is high enough, so it's fully automated. But here you can see that the confidence is very low. So instead of just like sending the email to the classified folder, we will open a form. Again, I will show you how the form is built, but it's very easy. Where on this form, you can see the email body. You can see what is suggested by the machine learning classifier. And you can select if you want to change it or not. So for this one, let's just say that we'll change it to credit card, for example. I submit it, and then the process keep going on. Of course, here I'm doing this in attended mode, but with Action Center, you can do exactly the same in an attended fashion. So instead of having the form just popping up, it will be on the Action Center where you have a task assigned to a business user, and the business user will just complete the task and the process will keep going. So let's see first what happened here. If I look at the classified images file now, I should have all the email classified. So you can see email, the name of the email, the text, what is the class, and what is the confidence score. And on this process, I decided that if I do that manually, basically I will put a confidence score of 1. It's up to you how you design your workflow. It's up to you. So what also happened is like we store locally the data here, new data, which is the image that was classified with a low confidence score. And if you look at how it looks like, it's really just a JSON. And if I show you here, you can see suggested. So that was the prediction done, the email, and you can also see the actual class here. And this was what we corrected basically. So it's very easy JSON file. And now I will go a bit deeper into this and show you what exactly happened. So if I start with classify email, there is this new activity, which is a ML scale activity, and which is the one that allows you to interact with AI Fabric. So the first thing to get this activity is to install it from managed packages. You're, I guess, all used to that. And this is the package you will be looking for. So UiPath ML services activities. If I look into this package, I have two activity, ML skill, which is here, which allows you to interact with AI Fabric. So basically here I'm fetching the different skills that are available to my tenant. There's only one. And how I can do that is because my robot is connected to my tenant. And because my robot is connected to my tenant, I can fetch some items there. I will show you how it looks on the AI Fabric side right after. You can also see some description, like input description, output description, and you can even test the skill, where you can see also the description. And testing the skill is really just like entering an input, in our case, some string. So let's do, I want to test the skill. Of course, classification will be very bad because not even a complaint, but at least you return something. And you can see what is the model is returning. This will be very different from one model to another one because we offer a lot of flexibility. But in that case, we do a prediction and a confidence score only. So because we classify the email in the skill, we can keep going with the data. Here we have just a question mark that we already discussed about the confidence. And in our case, we take confidence level 0.75. And if the confidence is not high enough, then we'll go here. And we have the form designer, which is part of Action Center, where we design the form basically. Very easy form. You can do much more sophisticated than this one, but basic things are working well in most of the case. So you can use only this. For document understanding, for example, you can imagine that instead of using the form, you will use a validation station. And the idea is just to send the output to AI Fabric at some point. And in order to send the AI Fabric at some point, I told you we had two activities on this package. The second one is upload file. And this is what we do at the end, is we'll go to all new data that we first store locally in this folder, and we'll send them to AI Fabric. And the way we do that, again, we connect to AI Fabric thanks to the robot, so we can fetch the project. I will tell you more about project and dataset just after. And we decide where we want to send the file. And because we send this back to AI Fabric, our data scientists will be able to work with that. And we train the model basically. So it's really two activities, very easy to understand from RPA developer. And then we'll go to AI Fabric side and we'll try to understand what happened on the other side of the automation. So let me bring AI Fabric now. Okay, now I'm just connecting to my Cloud RPA account. Oh, of course. Okay, this is my account. So I guess you already know this platform. What is new is this AI Fabric stuff here that you can access. But first, let's see how to enable AI Fabric. So the first thing is to get a license. We'll discuss that, but for now you can just request an enterprise trial if you want to have some AI robots. Once you have AI robots, you can go to the services and you can edit the license. You go to other services and you can enable AI Fabric and just put some license here and it will enable AI Fabric basically. Here you can switch the tenant because my AI Fabric is on this one. I want to select this tenant first, and now I can click on AI Fabric and I will be redirected to it. So now it's logging into AI Fabric and I can see that I have already some projects. A project for us is really like all the things that you want to put together for one business use case. You will put them into a project. And what I mean by all the things, it's all the things for machine learning project, meaning the data, the model, the skill, which is model deployed, and a way to retrain your models, basically. So let's first go into this project that we just used here. And by the way, if you look here, I have 4 projects. And this is exactly what I get if I go to Studio. And here I want to fetch a project. I just refresh it here. And I can see that I have the exact same one. And if I change my robot to another account or another tenant, of course, the list will be adapted. Again, I select the project, and here I can see a list of datasets. Here I have only one, and we can just verify that it's correct on this side. So I go into the project. I have different entities here, but the first one is very easy to understand. Is dataset. You can see that just as a storage, you will have different folder for different datasets, but it's really just a storage where you can put everything you want to. And here, so as we see, so before, we have only one dataset. And if I go into this dataset, I have some other folder with some file in it. And especially I have this one, which is low confidence email, and where you can just get the email that was sent back from our process. So you can check the time according to mine. So it was like 8 minutes ago, which seems reasonable. And the reason why it is in this folder, it's because I have decided so here by just putting this into the path. So it's very easy to send back data to the dataset. Why do you need dataset? Of course, it's in order to retrain the model. So let's look at all the other entities that we have here. We have ML packages. I talked briefly about this a bit earlier, but ML packages is just a train model and the code to like call this model and retrain this model. So really what you need to do when you want to add the new packages, the like classic way to do it is just to upload your model. In order to upload your model, you go to upload zip file. And what we are really expecting is simply a zip file. So let me show you an example of this one. Let's take iris with train. So you will give a name, some description. This is iris for demo. You select the input type. Here we have JSON, which is basically a string, but we put JSON because it shows you that you can format it as a JSON, and then you can use a lot of different kind of data. You can also send file directly or list of files if you want to. In our case, it's a JSON. You can put some description, like send iris features in this format. And it's always a good practice to just give an example of what you expect. You can do something like this. Because this is what I expect for this model. And again, here you will have send classification and confidence score. And again, I'm not going to do it, but you can just give an example, and it's always a good practice. And the output will be, again, a string, most likely formatted in a JSON format for most of them. Language, we support different Python version today. We also support module pipeline, which is something provided by H2O, which is one of our partners. We plan to add other languages, but first we focus on Python because it's what most of the machine learning guys and data scientists use. You can say if you recommend to use this with a GPU or not. This is just to give more power, but again, this is just communication here. You're not actually deploying the model, you're just uploading this zip file into a fabric. And you can say whether or not you want to use training or not for this model. And this is just, you click on it. On this one, I will have the code for training, so we can use it. Again, you upload the model, package description, input, output description, and even recommend GPU are just for communication between different members of the team. And especially input and output description is what you have seen before into this fields, basically input, output. It's whatever the data scientist is giving, and it's here in order to help RPA developer who doesn't know exactly the model or doesn't know exactly how to use it to understand it and to be able to easily build the process around it. So you can create it and it will start uploading. Because this one is very light, it went very fast, but if you have a big model, then it might take a bit of time. And the first thing that it will check, it will validate the package, and we will basically validate that you put all the functions that we need and in the right format, because we need to understand your package a little bit. I will come back to this a bit later. Now, if I refresh, yeah, it's on deploy, meaning that it has been validated, so you can use it if you want. So now that you have a package, you can do two things. You can train it if you have some data, or you can deploy it if it's ready to be deployed and you want people to start using it. So if you want to just train it, you can go to pipelines, create a new pipeline, and you will have three types of pipeline. Training pipeline, so you will just run the train function. Evaluation, you will just evaluate on some data set that you will provide, and full pipeline is basically doing both of them. So let's say we do full pipeline, we go with the OSMA classifier, you select the version, the exact version that you want to retrain. Let's say I want to retrain 1.0, and you can select which input data set you want to use. And in this one, what's very nice and what's really the power of AI Fabric is you can easily put this low confidence image folder, which is the one where you're sending back the data from the studio to retrain your model and to get a better version of your model. So here it was just like a dummy example. So I have only one data for this one. So I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to use the training data. But the idea is this, is you will just keep running this process for some time. So you will accumulate some data, and maybe once in a week or once in a month, you can even have like recurring pipeline if you want, like they will start automatically. You can retrain your model and just keep it updated with new data and keep it better because you get new data. You can choose an evaluation data set which is different or not. This, we can come back to this later, but it's a bit technical point. Let's just start the model now. Again, you can use the GPU or not for training, and usually for training, it can be a good thing to use it, especially as it is the case here. We have a neural network model. We'll come back to that later, but it can be a good thing to enable GPU for this one. Okay, and now the model is queued. It will build the image, and once it's ready, it will start automatically. We don't need to do anything, and actually it's ready very fast because I already ran similar training. So now it's running. It's going to train for some time. As you can see, it takes about 2 hours. So I'm not sure we'll see the output of this one, but you get the concept. We can see actually what is output of a pipeline. If you go to detail, once it's done, first you can see what was used for training this model. So again, training data, I use the GPU. If you put some parameters, you can just see them here at the end. So there's nothing to see. You can see some logs. This is just like the end of the logs, but you can download the entire file here. And you can also see all of this here, which is basically like the new package, which is generated after training, so that you can download if you want to. You can see a result.json, which is really like a summary of what happened, which is automatically generated. And what you can also see, and which is very useful for audit purpose, and it's more and more a debate in data science community to be able to track what data was used for training, what data was used for evaluating the model, and so on. So we store them at the end of the process. So if you go to training pipeline, you will see that train.csv is here. And this is exactly the data that was used for training the model. So if at some point you realize your model is not working as you expected, and you suspect it's because the data were corrupted, or because you didn't use enough data and you want to check, you can go back to this pipeline and just check what was the data set, and you can investigate this. Same goes for evaluation data set, which is here. The last folder that you can see here, it's artifacts, and it's basically a way for you to store any kind of data, any kind of statistics that you want to store during your training process and that you want to see at the end. So basically, this will depend on what you put in the package, but it's a good way to monitor what's happening during your training job. And now that's it. Your model is training, and once it's done, it will actually generate a new version of the package. So if I go to this one, I can see that I had one version, but because I retrain it 2 times, I have 2 new versions, and I have one which is still running, and at the end, it will generate a new version. And once it's a new version, you can go to ML skills, and on ML skills, so deploying a model will make it accessible to your robot, and this is what we call ML skill in AI Fabric. You can create an ML skill very easily. You just give a name, you select the package that you want to deploy. Actually, I can do it here. Let's do it with our semi classifier 1.1. I will check get the same. Email classifier demo. So you just give a name, and again, you can give a description. And again, this description is the one that you're going to see here. As you can see, I didn't put any description last time here, so I cannot see anything, but let's try with description. Again, you can run it with a GPU or not. For serving, I don't think it's necessary for us, so I will do it without the GPU. I can create it. Now it's deploying, and once it will be available, we will be able to see it in Studio. We can check now. That's not the case. Now we still have only one, but as soon as it will become available, it will become it will appear in the drop down here if I press the skill. What else behind this? As I said, you can have several different versions for one package, and the very good thing is because you retrain your package, you think it's better. So you have a new version of this package. So you want to update the skill because your process, you want them to run with the last version and with the best version of the model. So what you will only need to do is to go to the skill and just click on the version that you want to deploy now. So let's say I want to deploy 1.2 instead of 1.1 because it's better. I click on this one. Again, I can change if I want a GPU or not. I confirm. And now I'm back here and you can see it's updating. The very good thing is while it's updating, you can still call the skill from here. So basically we will update the skill, and by doing that, we'll update all your process to use a new version of the model, but still you will be able to call the model, so the process won't fail even if they keep running during an update. So you see, it's still returning something, even if here, if I refresh, it's still updating. Last part here is ML logs, and ML logs is basically a way to monitor everything happening on AI Fabric. If you have, like, for example, logs related to pipelines, you can see here I launch pipelines, it starts running. At the end of the pipeline, I will have much more information, like some logs. Let me find one of them. Here you can see that pipeline succeeds. If I open it, actually I don't have logs because I have logs only when it failed on this one, sorry. You can see deployment started. Basically, it's a good way to have an audit of what's happening and also to see everything which is failing and why it's failing, so you can debug it. Also, if you're doing some prediction and they are failing, you should be able to see them here. Okay, so that's basically using AI Fabric. And one thing that I didn't show you yet is this out-of-the-box packages way. So the first goal of AI Fabric was to allow you to use your own model into AI Fabric, but we also realized that many of our customers, many of you just don't have enough skill or enough people skilled to build a model on AI Fabric, but also that we are able as UiPath to provide you some models that are used by many of our customers and that will work in your case. So there is no interest for you to just redo the same model again and again, you can use them from the directory. So if I go into this, I will actually see two sections. The first one is UiPath. Here we will provide all the models that we built for you, and that are like proprietary to UiPath. So for example, document understanding, we have a bunch of models here and more to come. But basically you will be able to really easily add invoice model to your own environment, and this will also be available on-prem. So instead of just calling a public endpoint because of security reason, or because you want your own model and you want to retrain on your own invoices or receipts or any kind of document, you can just add it here. So I will add invoices to my tenant. When I add it, it will ask me if I want to customize the OCR engine. I will just give a name. You can change the description, but they are provided by UiPath by default. You can change them, obviously. Let me just give invoices, and let's try dummy stuff here. OCR, blah, blah, blah. So of course this won't be usable, but it's just for the demo. So you submit it. And now if you go back to your ML packages, you have this new package, which is invoices. And it's ready to be either deployed if you want to go to ML skills and create a new skill based on the invoices, or if you want to retrain on your own documents, then you can start a pipeline on invoices. This is the best way to really like adapt our model to your own need, to your very own need, and just to get the better results out of what we built. So that's one thing, which is UiPath models. The other thing is open source packages. Open source packages, they are some packages and some machine learning models actually that are built by best company doing machine learning in the world. You can think of Facebook, Google, Amazon, I don't know. A lot of them are just open sourcing a lot of models because there is like a big competition between them and among the machine learning community about like, I'm building the best model on this data set, I'm building the best model for this. And if you look, for example, at the model that we used before, this was actually like a generic English text classification model. This one is provided by Facebook. It's called Roberta. It's kind of famous, so I guess you know it. So we just add an English text classification model. I won't do it because I already did it. And based on this model, we train this on this data set, which is a training data set. And then I use this model that I have trained to go here and to serve it. And basically I was able to classify my image. So it's very easy. You have some text that you want to classify. You can be based on this text. You can see that you have a French version of this one. You can imagine that I push for this one. Language detection, some of them are not retrainable. You will see it here. Language detection, basically you receiving some complaints from customer. You want to route them to the right person speaking the same language as the customer. You can use this kind of model and just send the email to the right person. Name entity recognition, sentiment analysis. It's evolving a lot. And as I told you before, any input of what you need and what you would like to see will be useful for us as we build that for you. So whatever you need, we'll try to add it if we can do it. You also have some models on image analysis because you can send some image very easily. This one is about image moderation, like saving, like putting out not safe for work content and stuff like this. On this, and we will discuss that later also, we'll have certainly a new section about partners, and this will be kind of one way to access our marketplace on machine learning models. So any partners that want to build model and want to open them to a Fabric user, of course, you can monetize them if you want to. They will appear on this section, on this new section that we are building. And that's pretty much it. Let's see what happened during the presentation. So first, here it's still running, so I cannot show you the results yet. But we can go to ML skills. I know this one is still updating, but now this one is available. So we can check if I was lying. But now if I refresh, I should be able to see 2 skills, and hopefully I can. And let me open it, it will be easier. As I told you, the description, I enter it now here. So of course, here it's very useless, but you can imagine that you will enter something so RPA developer will understand it better. And the rest of the model is the same because I just use the same model again. Let me go back to a fabric. ML skills are here, ML logs. Again, you should be able to see, yeah, now the model is available. So you get a log whenever the model is ready to be served if you want to check it. Okay, let me go back just to the first page because there is one thing that I didn't show you. I told you about the project that we are like basically using project to separate business use case. Creating a new project is very easy. Or actually, there is 2 things. New project demo. So you just need to enter a name basically. Description is optional, but you can just put it. This is and you can create, and that's pretty much it. Now you are into a new project. You're already inside it, but you can of course go back here and you will see it here. And the other thing that I didn't show you yet is the data set and how to add data. So I show you one way to add data, which is using the upload file activity. The other way to do it is just to come here and say, I want to create a new data set, so I can add empty data set. So now I have an empty data set with a typo here. Or you can just upload a folder and the name of folder will be used to create this data set. Let's try to do that. We go to this one. I go to training. And I will just upload all the images that we saw before. And you can upload. It takes the time that it needs to upload all the files that are in it. Here it was very fast again because we didn't have a lot of files. But now you can see all of your files and you can store pretty much whatever you think. The thing is, data scientists need to be sure that what he's storing here is what will be useful for training the models afterward. So now if I want to create a new pipeline, I don't have any package, so I cannot do it. But basically I can create a new package and use these 2 data set to train the model on. That's it. The last thing that you may want to use is to check your licenses. We go very fast on this one, but we have 2 concepts for licenses. The first one is a robot. So they are not robots that are used for RPAs. They are just a way for us to license the models that you deploy. So whenever one of your model is deployed, it's going to consume an AI robot, actually half of an AI robot for 1 ML skill deployed. Or when your pipeline is running, so when you're training a model, it's also going to consume 1 AI robot. And then if you want to use a GPU either for serving, so for using an ML skill or for training your model, it will consume GPU license. So if I check here, I see that I have 2 models deployed and 1 model with training. This is why I have 2 AI robots taken. And because I use a GPU for this one, I also have 1 GPU license, which is used. Once the pipeline is done, or once you kill the pipeline, the license are freed up. The same if you want to remove the skill, the license will be freed up. So let's do that. Actually, it won't be enough because it will be still taken by this one. But if I remove both of them, then you will see the license available. And that's pretty much it on how to use a fabric and very efficiently put any machine learning model that you have on an automation workflow on the studio. We'll I think we can start with some questions for now, and then I will introduce you with the roadmap and some features that we want to build. And I would like to get your feedback and your thoughts on it. So let's start with some questions, and then I will show you the features to come.
Everyone, so now you can unmute yourself and ask any question.
Or in the meantime, if we have questions from the chat, I don't know, Gwen, if you can read one of them.
So I see Anton, Sunil, and Gwen. They have been answering a lot of questions. So Anton,
Okay.
if you have found any really good question that you think that a wider community should be knowing, so you can cover this here, unmute and share that.
Okay. Any question, guy? Any feedback?
Yeah. Guys, you should be able to unmute now.
Hi, this is Arun. I have a question on the models, right? You told we can develop our own custom models, right?
Yeah.
So does UiPath support pickle? Can I create a pickle
yes,
model?
of course. So that's actually one thing that I forgot to show you, and that's a very good first question. So I can just go back to this, and I wanted to show you how a model looks like and what is inside the zip file. So basically, we can support anything that you can install with pip. So anything that you can install with a pip install, we'll be able to install it. If you need something which is outside pip, we may support, but it's not coming as is. It's something that we have on the roadmap. So what do we need in the zip file? So basically in the zip file, the first thing that we need to have is a folder, which has the same name as the zip file. And basically you put everything in the folder, you zip this folder, and this is what we expect. And then what do we want to see inside this folder? So here, two things will come. Let's say that first you want to serve the model. So you want to do projection with the model only, and you don't need to train it. In that case, we'll need two files, which are the main.py and requirements.txt. So you were talking about pickle. The first thing that you will need to do in that case is just to install pickle using requirements. So for those of you who are familiar with Python, this is nothing new. We use the requirements to know which libraries we need to install. So you will need to install pickle, but that's pretty much it. Then you can just get your file. And inside the main.py file, and actually you can see that this example is with pickle, we expect two functions to be implemented. The init function, basically in this function, you will load the model into memory, so we don't need to load it each time there is a new projection. So it's what we do here. And the second function that we expect is a project function. So project function will take the input as argument, and basically it will explain us how to use the model to do the projection. And it will return the string here again, it's format as a JSON, but it's not mandatory, it can be just a string, and it will return this. In this example, you can see that you have another function. You can have as many functions as you want. As soon as you have these two functions, we're good to go. And that's pretty much what we expect. So the project function will take the input and return a string, and that's what we expect. So that's the two files that you need to have. Of course, if you have only these two files, you would say, okay, where is the model? So you will need to put the model somewhere. You can put it wherever you want. If you check here, it's in this folder, and actually it's pickled, and you can see that there are not one, but two models, one for preprocessing and one for the actual projection. For us, it's good. You can have as many as you want. We may have some memory issue if you have like 20 gigas of models, but apart from that, it will work. So that is if you only want to serve the model. But if you want to retrain the model, of course, we need to know more about it. And the way we know more about it is because you will add this file, which is a train.py. It looks a bit more complicated, and it is because the other one is very simple, but it's not that complicated for a data scientist and for someone who already built a machine learning model. So what we needed in this train.py will be at the very least, this train function. Of course, we need to understand how to train the function. So in the init, you will again load this in memory and so on, but then you will need to apply a training. What you will also need, if you want to evaluate your data, is to add this evaluate function, because we don't know exactly how to evaluate the data. So we need you to tell us how to do it. Of course, we need to save this save function, and this is just basically saving the model. So you train the model, and then you need to save it locally, because as I said before, you can put the model wherever you want, but because you can put the model wherever you want, you need to tell us how to save the new version of the model. And as you can see, I'm loading the model here, and I'm just overwriting the model with this function. So it's really nothing complicated. The other function that you can have is process data. If you want to do something before training, like let's say you don't have a training set and a test set, you just want to split the data out of your training set, you can do that in process data. And after that, it can be as complicated as you want, or it can be as easy as you want. If you want to save some artifacts, I talked about this before, but what I have here is just a function that will save some artifacts. And in that case, it will be some histograms. If we train the model, we'll see these histograms, and that's pretty much it. So what will happen with this function? I can show you exactly. Let's say, so I told you we have 3 types of pipelines. If you do training pipelines, what will happen is we'll load this function. So of course, init function will be executed. Then we'll run train function, save function, and that's it. If in this function you're calling other function, of course, they will be called, but we won't call any other function ourselves. If you go to evaluate pipeline, then the only thing that we are going to do is to use evaluate function. You can see that input our data directory and not data directly is because we store the data locally first. So you can load them and it don't take too much memory, but you can load them and just evaluate on this data. This is of course passed by us. You don't need to specify it. And the last one is full pipeline, and full pipeline is like combination of the 2 others, except that first we'll run the process data. Then we train. Actually, sorry. First, we evaluate the current model. So let's say that we're training a model. The first thing we want to do is to evaluate the model. So we run process data because maybe you will split your data. Then we evaluate on the testing data. Once we have evaluated the whole model on the testing data, we'll train the model, we'll save it, and we'll evaluate again because now we have the new version of the model. And what we want to do is compare the 2 versions. And this, you will be able to see that in the results.json I was talking about before. And that's it. So it's kind of simple pipelines that we want to give you. But if in between you want to do like more sophisticated stuff, again, you can do it. And as you can see here, I have other folder, I have other files. It's up to you. You can include whatever you want. We don't recommend to add the data set here as I can have it here. This was for local testing, but you're not supposed to upload the data set here. You're supposed to upload the data set here and just to give it as an input when you're running the pipeline. Thanks for this question, so I could explain all of this.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course, you have documentation on all of this. So feel free to come with questions, but in the meantime, I can just show you where to find the documentation. And so this is doc UiPath, a fabric. V0 is for cloud, so you need to go to cloud version. And okay, it's taking some time, but basically you can find all the documentation here. Especially you can find out of the box packages documentation. And in this one, you will find like better description of the open source packages, and especially for the one which are retrainable. So you will be able to understand how to use it, how to format your data and so on. Basically for all of them, it's very easy. You can just give JSON data or you can give CSV data. it's up to you, and we'll treat them the same way.
Hey, Jeremy, someone's asking, do we have template or structure for Python file being explained in documentation?
Yes, of course we have that. You can go to ML packages, building ML packages, and here you will see like a step-by-step about like you have a model already running, what we expect you to add. So you can see like main.py file, the different functions that you want to implement, different tips on how to handle different type of data. So I told you basically we need to use a JSON or files, but if you have like, for example, a table, it's just how to format this as a string and just give it to us. And of course, you have some example here. So basically here, we start with an example. We have an example for ready to serve without training, and then we add the training. So this is only the model. And then we add step by step, we add the main.py file with an example, and requirements file with an example, and then it looks like this, and you can zip it and upload it.
There are two questions regarding GPU. I haven't seen anyone responded to those questions. One is there any GPU usage limit? The second one is GPU configurable to enhance image processing?
So GPU limits first, it will be attached with your licenses basically. So if you buy 10 licenses, you will be able to have 10 GPUs. The only thing is you can use only one GPU by pipeline or one GPU per skill. Like you cannot have a training job where you say, okay, I want to use 3 GPUs on this one and do parallel stuff. It will be only one GPU. The second thing is, of course, you can use it for image processing. So you just need to have like a package doing image processing and add your GPU to like run your pipeline faster or run your skill faster if you want to. It's just exactly the same way. Guys, feel free to unmute and just ask question. Maybe better if it's more interactive. Otherwise, I will also open the chat and try to get some of them. So I will just take the last one. Do we need to write our own Python file for custom problem? So I would say it depends on the problem. If it's a problem that you can solve with one of the file which is here, you know, it's why we make this one with trainable. For example, English text classification is something very generic. So you can have a lot of different problems, a lot of different classes, but you can retrain this model, so you don't need to create your own Python file. If it's something that cannot be solved with one of them, or actually I should say one of them, then yes, you need to build your own Python file and your own model for this. This is why we want to let flexibility. We know that in machine learning world, a lot of people are like facing a lot of very different issues. So we try to be as generic as possible when we provide some open source packages or UiPath packages. We try to treat the ones that are the more demanded. And this is, again, why I will ask you to give me some input on that. But we cannot cover all specific use case. It's like covering all of specific use case with RPA out of the box is not really possible. So you have the possibility to build your own Python files.
How much is the AI Fabric add-on?
Sorry?
How much is the additional AI Fabric add-on, or is it included in your regular UiPath license?
So for the pricing, Anton, do you want to talk about it? Or? Okay, I will take it. So what you need to buy for getting a fabric is just a robots and GPUs. So basically, as soon as you buy licenses to use a fabric, you get a fabric. There is no add-on like you can see on Orchestrator where you need to buy an Orchestrator. it will only depend on the number of models that you want to build. So no add-on for AI Fabric itself, it's only for the models. And the price is on cloud. So when we manage infrastructures for an AI robot is $11,000 a month, like the list price.
A year.
A year, sorry. Yeah. Thank you, Gwen.
11,000 a year. Okay.
Guys, please unmute and ask your question. We might have forgot to answer any of the question on the chat.
Yeah, it's going very fast, so
yeah, please brave enough and unmute.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy. Actually, my question is that while validating the workflow from DU scenario, I'm saying, is it retrainable every time the customer just trains that model? It is retrained every time in the AI Fabric, or we have to do something?
No, so when you are on the workflow, you're going to send back data, and it's not going to be retrained for each new data. Okay. First, most of the time, it's not a very good idea to do it like for each single data that is coming, but also for now, it will only start when you create a new pipeline. So you can do that manually. But as I said before, and I didn't show you, you can also have recurring pipeline. So if you go to recurring pipeline, what you can do is just say, okay, I want to do this every Tuesday, for example, at this time. Okay, but because we cannot cover all of the use case here, you can also just give a cron expression and say, okay, I will do it each month, each first day of the month, each, I don't know, whatever you can do with cron expression. Okay. And you can just schedule that, meaning that, let's say you do that every 2 weeks. People will just process their data. They will send it back to AI Fabric. They will send it back to a specific folder, for example, this one, low confidence email. So it will get to, I don't know, hundreds of files, and every 2 weeks it will start retraining.
Okay, sure.
There's a question regarding GPU as well. Is the GPU immediately available for training, or does it need time to come up?
So GPU doesn't need time to come up. What needs time to come up is the image itself, sorry. So what's happening when we launch a training job is we take the package, which is just like stored somewhere, and we're going to build a Docker image around this package. And what's happening when we do that is we need to install the libraries, we need to start downloading some stuff, so it's going to take some time. But once the image is built, then GPU is available and it will start immediately. If you're training multiple times the same package, for example, it's what I did here and again here, we keep the image, so image building will be almost it will be done almost immediately, and it will start running immediately. And actually, it's what you saw during the demo. If I check here, I was using a GPU, and it took like very few seconds to start.
Können Sie aufhängen oder für weitere Optionen?
Sorry. It's because the image was already built. Otherwise, it can take maybe 20-30 minutes to be built. And the same will happen when you deploy a skill. Exactly same process. We're building the image first, so it might take some time. If the image is already built, it will be much faster, but the GPU will be available anytime. Only thing is, if you're, let's say, for example, now I'm running with a GPU and I have only one GPU. If I want to start, let's say, the same package, actually, that could be a good thing to show you. So I'm taking the exact same one, and I'm creating a new pipeline now. You can see it's queued, so that's normal. But it will stay queued a little bit more than the other one. And the reason why is because there is no licenses available. So it will like try every 5 minutes, I think, during a week or something, to get some free licenses. And if you get some free licenses, then it will start running. Otherwise, after a week, it will fail. And actually, if you go to logs, so it's not there yet, but we'll see very soon that it's waiting for resources. So I will show that to you. I can take some questions in the meantime.
There's a question, is there a limit in uploading custom model and training them?
Again, no limit. Only limit is to like number of training jobs that you can have in parallel, and this is limited by your licenses. You can upload as many packages as you want in one project, in different projects. Same for projects, you have no limit on the number of projects. So no limit on this. Oh, this is features that I didn't show you yet. Just realized. On this project page, you can see the number of pipelines that are active, meaning like running or queued at this time, and the number of packages that are deployed. And also, if you go to ML skills and you get here this column, which is a number of prediction, you can see it's 12. It's what I tested before. We can do the test here. Try another prediction. So now it should go to 13. I'm not sure it's immediate, but we can try. So yeah, I will try in like 5 minutes and we'll see. So, okay, a lot of questions here. Sorry, I cannot take all of them in the chat, but let's say the last one. Is it possible to deactivate a specific version of uploaded model? So first thing is when it's uploaded, it's not really active in a sense that you don't see that in RPA side. But if you mean like removing it from AI Fabric, then yes. The way to do that is, let's get to this one. And I say, okay, so 1.1, I don't want it anymore. So I just go here and I delete it. And what's going to happen is just disappearing. If I do that to the 1.2, then I cannot do it. The reason why is just because it's deployed, so I cannot remove a deployed version. If I do that, let's say on Iris, where there is actually only one version, and I delete it, the package is removed, so you won't see it again. You can also do it from here. Let's do it with this one. Delete undeployed version. So even if I have multiple versions that are all undeployed, it will remove all of them, and the package will be removed, except if again some of them are deployed. So if I do that here, I will get a version like, okay, they get all undeployed removed, but because this one is deployed, then it's not. And now you can see the 13th. Yeah, thank you. You can see the 13th prediction. Can you see the logs or not yet? Oh, I actually, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Pipeline was running, but I removed the package. So it actually removes the pipelines. So that's a good thing that I can see it in the logs. Now the pipeline is killed. And if I go to the license, I can see that I have now one GPU available and one AI robot available. So I can come back here and I can start a new pipeline if I want to. There is a question about recommended accuracy. We got a lot of times this kind of question, and this, I'm sorry, but there is no like no good answer to that. It will really depends of your use case. Let's say you want to route some email, but you accept that some of them are route to the wrong person, and they will just forward it to the right person afterward. Maybe, I don't know, 80% of accuracy is good. let's say you want to predict cancer and you want to help like some doctors to find cancer on one specific patient. If you have only 80% of accuracy, then it's very bad. So you don't want to do that. So it really depends of the business case. One thing that I would say as a like general usage for a Fabric and RPA is do not forget that you can involve human with RPA, meaning that it's not the model alone who is going to run and you have no control. Even if you have kind of bad accuracy at the beginning, one thing that you can do is still involve human, but have the model running and suggesting solution to human. So it might speed up the process, and anyway, it will be a good way for you to gather new data and to retrain on this new data to make the model better. So you can start with kind of a bad accuracy, as long as you're aware of this and you involve human, maybe all the time, maybe only when confidence is low, but this will be the case quite often. You can start with like the confidence threshold very high or something like this. So you need to think about this when you decide the confidence threshold, and you need to think about this when you decide when to put your model in production. If there's a human validated, then you can go with pretty low accuracy. If you expect everything to be fully automated, then it will depend on your business use case and what is basically the cost of an error.
Someone is asking about Autobox machine learning model roadmap.
So the short-term roadmap, and maybe we can go to the roadmap after that. Short-term roadmap is actually here. Is a model that you see with a star here. So we'll have new model in UiPath document understanding. I know we'll also have a model for invoices in Australia and invoices in India. I know a lot of you guys are based in India today. So we'll have specific models for this coming. We'll also have a generate object detection model. We're working on this one at the moment. So that's a short-term roadmap. For the other one, again, any feedback coming for you will impact the roadmap. And also, if we have like good model open source on a specific topic, then it will be easier for us to add it. I will follow up on the features roadmap before it gets too late. So we have several features that we want to integrate with AI Fabric. We may have features for maybe 5 years of work, so we need to prioritize. One of the first ones that would come is the possibility to label data in a data scientist way and to start training your model into AI Fabric. Maybe some of you already saw some demo on document understanding. You maybe heard about the data manager, which is a very nice interface to label document and extraction from document. We plan to integrate it with AI Fabric first, but we also plan to let you maybe bring your own tool to label data. So the labeling tool will be very different if you want to label images, if you want to extract, I don't know, faces from images, rather than if you want to do text extraction into a text already, like named entity extraction or stuff like this. So it's why we, again, want to offer you a lot of flexibility, and we will also have some defined templates, a bit like you can see, like the open source packages, we will have like open source templates for labeling. So we want to integrate fully with AI Fabric, which is not the case today, and which is like one of our first priority goals. We also have a lot of other features coming, and this is basically where I'm going to ask your feedback on this one. Gwen, could you create a poll to just ask which one will be the first one priority for people here? I will describe them a little bit in meantime, but basically around advanced deployment. Today, deployment are very easy. You deploy the skill, you can call the skill, you can change the version, but with advanced deployment, you can imagine some stuff like being able to deploy a skill just after retraining if you met a certain threshold or something. You can imagine doing some A/B testing, canary deployments, a lot of things like this. This is stuff we have on the roadmap. Advanced model monitoring. As I said before, it's very important for data scientists to be able to monitor the model once it's in production. Just be able to check that the results are still good, that you don't have any data drift, meaning that the distribution of your data are not very related to what you use to train your model. So we want to include some monitoring capabilities inside AI Fabric. AI Studio will be basically a way for you to build multi-step machine learning directly into AI Fabric. You can think of this like starting with an embedded notebook, for example, but then being able to build models the same way that you build RPA process with drag and drop kind of activities or components that will be available on AI Fabric. Model marketplace, I also talk about this. We think there is a huge opportunity both for our partners and our customers to build a marketplace around models in AI. So you will be able as a partner to distribute models, to monetize them. And as a customer, you will be able to use the same way you're using out of the box packages. So very easily today, you will be able to use models from a lot of our partners. And of course, we monitor the performance and so on. Some of them might be free. Some of them, you will need a license for it. But so you know what's a marketplace. So we'll integrate, of course, with the marketplace that's already existing for RPA, which is Go. And yeah, AutoML. What you have today in AI Fabric can be seen to some extent to AutoML. Especially we have like a teapot model I didn't talk about for numerical data, like tabular numerical data, where it's going to find the best algorithm to solve your issue. So you can already see that as AutoML, but AutoML is much more than that. You will go to like features engineering, model selection in kind of like neural network, like optimizing your models and so on. So that's a very hard goal. We'll certainly go step by step on this, but again, we would like to know if it's like a priority for you or not. If you have any other idea about the features that are missing today on AI Fabric or that you would like to see, maybe you saw them somewhere else, maybe you just think about it and you would like to have them on AI Fabric. I understand that you may need to do some testing before to answer that, but any idea would be helpful for us. Okay, so I open it again to feedback or question. Feel free to unmute yourself. We still have 7 minutes to go, so we have some time.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hi.
Actually, what are the list of the languages which is pre-trained available in with the ML? So you say I received a answer that we can train any language towards custom ML model. But what are the out-of-box languages that is present in the pre-trained model?
Sorry. If you go here for text classification today, so it will actually depend on the model. If you go, and maybe I should go there. Into the documentation, you will have more stuff. Most of them, of course, are for English. So English text classification, name entity recognition, sentiment analysis today are supporting English only.
Okay.
Again, if you go to language comprehension, they are for English only. There is one classification for French that you can use. And if you go to out-of-the-box packages, there is this one also, which is language identification. So sorry, what happened? So language identification, I talked briefly about this one earlier for an example. And this one is able to recognize, I think, 170 different languages. So again, we have more to come. If one language is really used and you need, for example, classification in Indie or something like this, if a lot of our customers are asking for it, then we'll try to find it. Again, this is like here we're just taking open source models, so we need to find a model which is already doing that we'll bring into a fabric. You also have some translation model, and for these models you have English to French, German, and Russian.
Yeah, thank you.
Here you can see the.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, you can send this link just in the chat.
Yeah, yeah, just sure.
Jeremy, I have a follow-up question on the custom package building, right? So will the tool only accept JSON as input? Can we also send other types like string and numbers?
So it's actually string, it's not JSON. As I said, we just put JSON because we want to make you understand that with JSON, you can pretty much pass everything, like numbers and so on. It just depends on how your model is handling it. And if you look here, okay, it's loading. We described how to do it for different types of data. So at the end, you will pass a string. What you're really going to pass is a string because it's a HTTPS call. So you need to pass a string. But in a string, you can pass a lot of different stuff. You just need to format the model to be sure that you're able to load it. So if you load the JSON with integers inside, you just have to do this on Python side, and it will load the JSON. And if there are numbers into this JSON, then it will read it as numbers. It's not an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Yeah.
So Jeremy,
So
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Vipor created poll for the features on our roadmap. Jeremy has shown earlier. If you guys could enter your response.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Gwen. And I see already a lot of answers coming, so that's great. Yeah, Vibor, please.
Yeah, I was saying that it looks like we have already covered a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you wanted to cover up before we wrap up? Future events or anything? Or
yeah, let's do that. So what's coming next related to a fabric? As I told you in the beginning, a fabric is not coming alone inside our hyper automation platform. So I wanted to highlighted some of the sessions that are coming and that are very good correlation with a fabric. The first one is how to use mainframes and app. So the things that I called form before or action center. This will be very, very useful in combination with a fabric because it will allow you to complete the feedback loop. We're going to send the links on the chat. The second one, which is actually just a day after, so it's kind of busy week for us, but it's about document understanding. Again, document understanding will be delivered through a fabric, so huge complementarity between them. The third thing is a fabric academic course is coming, and it will be next Monday. So I hope a lot of you will follow the course, and as usual, any feedback will help us make the course and the product better. So feel free to reach out. You can reach out by on the forum. You can reach out by any other means. You can even just send an email to me if you want to, or just contact me on LinkedIn. Anyway, I will answer related to fabric. And the last thing is a webinar coming 26th of July about AI Fabric and how to manage and scale AI for automation. Last thing, next community events. So I already talked about this one coming and this one also coming in the next 2 days. But many of them are coming. Vibor, I don't know if you want to say a word about them.
Yeah, so all these events are happening in a specific city. So you can, and I have just shared a link, which is communityevents.uipath.com. So if you think it's matching your time, so please be part of this. And you will find the recording of this session and other useful links within this event page, which is for AI Fabric.
Okay, and I guess we're right on time. So
yeah, we are right on time. So thank you, Jeremy. Thanks again. Thanks, Sunil, Anton, everyone. We really appreciate all of you, and thanks guys for making this session quite engaging. And please check out other virtual session at community event page. And see you next time. And I will be happy to connect you on the LinkedIn in case you have any specific query or anything else to share.